Per 9000's game room.
So this is not the first Simpsons game I've reviewed, and in fact I've already talked about a game very similar to this one. A game called Bart's Nightmare. And as this is made by the same developer and published by the same publisher, I guess this is basically a sequel in all but name. The game was released for the Super NES and the Sega Mega Drive, or as our American friends would know it, the Sega Genesis, in 1994. Unless you've been living under a rock, then I don't need to explain who the Simpsons are. Pretty much everyone will have watched this show at least a few times and have some idea of who the characters are. The game does do a good job of connecting to this world. It makes sure that plenty of the show's characters are sprinkled in here and there, and the game does try very hard to stay true to the show visually and in tone. When I reviewed Bart's Nightmare, I described it as a minigame collection connected by a central hub world. A hub world which was incredibly boring and time consuming, and I plainly stated that the game would have been a lot better if you just sacked off the hub world and got straight into the minigames. Well, it's almost as if someone had been listening to my frustrations as Virtual Bart sacks off the concept of the hub world in favour of a spinning wheel which randomly selects which minigame you will play next. So far so good, right? Okay, so let's start with the game's story. It's a pretty simple one. It is Bart's school science fair day, and he wanders past all the other exhibits which are all pretty cool Simpsons references, and he sees a virtual reality project. Bart can't resist getting into the machine. It is once you enter this machine, you find yourself spinning on a wheel which will randomly select one of 6 different levels. All of these levels are essentially different minigames. You have a couple of lives to try and complete all of these levels with, and when you lose all your lives, well, that's game over, and you'll be treated by seeing Bart stumble out of the virtual reality set and throw up. I will give them credit for providing a neat little cutscene before each level that sets the scene, and also for the fact that every level contains characters from the show. So they have at least tried to show some love for the source material. Okay, so let's be deeply honest now. The graphics are the only good part of this game. All of the characters actually look good, and the backgrounds show scenery that you can recognise from the town of Springfield found in the show. It's a crying shame that good graphics are paired up with rather dull, uninspired music. Sound effects wise, there's not much to talk about. There are a few screams, a few groans and a few laughs, but it's all pretty pedestrian and by the numbers. On paper, this game sounds good because it sounds a lot like a Bart's Nightmare 2, which has had the rubbish hub world torn out of it, but if only this was true. The 6 games on here are all exceptionally bad. Even the best one of them can't hold a candle to the worst one in Bart's Nightmare. The levels are hard, a lot of them have twitchy floaty controls, and they just throw thing after thing at you in a way which just makes it feel like a slog. More than a few minutes on any of these feels like swimming through diarrhea for infinity. Take the difficulty and the boredom, and unless there's something wrong with you, then you will not be able to beat this game, and you won't feel bad about that in the slightest. Okay, so let's run you through the levels or games or whatever you'd like to call them one by one. There's a level where you're a prehistoric Bart-faced dinosaur thing, where you run around jumping and smacking stuff with your tail, but it soon descends into just climbing up and up, jumping from platform to platform with stuff annoyingly knocking you off back to the bottom again. Then there's a level where you're Bart as a baby, and in this level you jump from tree limb to tree limb and swing around and get higher and higher, mistime something once and you'll fall most likely to your death. Then there's a level where Bart turns into a pig and must escape a meat-packing plant. You run up and down and pull levers and jump on clowns' heads, and yeah, it's another pedestrian platform style level. Then you have a level based on Bart's school photo day. In this level, you as Bart need to throw tomatoes at everyone to try and ruin the school photo. This game is pretty darn basic, and yet it's possibly the best game here because at least it doesn't feel horrid. Then we have a level which is clearly based on Mad Max, with Bart travelling on a bike in a post-apocalyptic Springfield with school bullies trying to ram you off the road. It's like all of the others, not very much fun at all and a complete slog. So the final one I have left to talk about is a water slide level. All you do is control Bart by moving left to right in the water slide, avoiding obstacles. Occasionally you'll need to choose a path, picking either to go down the right or the left path. If you pick the wrong one, you end up bumping into Homer's behind as he's stuck in the pipe. But this doesn't kill you. No, you then get pushed down the other pipe anyway, so it doesn't seem to matter that much. This could have been good if it felt better, if there was a better sense of speed and more to see, and the problem is that this is the case with all of the games. They all feel kind of half-arsed, like they had an okay idea but they didn't push it well enough. There were levels in Bart's Nightmare, such as the Bartman level, which actually felt like if they were expanded on, then you could have made a whole game out of the gameplay on offer there. I cannot say this about any game here. If any of the bits of this game had been expanded on, you'd still have been left with a rubbish product. So if I was going to give this game a score out of 10, I'd give it about a 2. I've never owned this game, nor do I have any desire to own it. I used to never drive to play this game in order to review it, although I do remember once renting it back when the SNES was popular. And back then I instantly regretted wasting my pocket money on the rental. If you really need this game, it actually seems to be pretty rare. Every time I've seen a cart of it, it's been about £40, which in all honesty is about £37 too expensive. You should spend your money on something else, something much better. A box set of an early season of The Simpsons, a subscription to Disney Plus to watch a bunch of Simpsons, about half the money this costs on Bart's Nightmare. Pretty much anything would be a better financial decision. Okay, that's Kerr9000 signing off, saying keep on gaming.